Hello everyone and welcome to this foundational document overview video. Today we are tackling Brutus 1. Now you can see here we've got this lovely image of a pizza, and I always say whenever you think of Brutus 1, you're going to want to think of a pizza. Why is that? Well, Brutus 1 is about the weaknesses of a large republic. You like pizza, I'm guessing, but you don't want to just eat the whole thing. You got to slice it up to fully enjoy the pizza. Brutus says that a republic is the exact same way. And everything about his argument, down to the fact that he calls himself Brutus, is very specifically chosen. Brutus 1 is lasted as one of the most powerful arguments against the Constitution, and that's why we study in an AP government today. Many of the things that some of our founding fathers were worried about with this new Constitution, well, you'll see that he was onto something. First, I mentioned a moment ago that even the fact that he calls himself Brutus is specific. Let's talk a little bit more about that as we dive right in. The historical event that we need to understand is the death of Julius Caesar. This is an important event that everybody at this time would have understood as being referenced. Here's what happened. There was a man named Julius Caesar, and he was very power hungry. He had essentially been declared dictator for life, and the power hungry Julius Caesar was assassinated by the senators. And this included his closest friend, someone who was once his enemy but had come into the fold, Brutus. Now, why then is the name Brutus significant? Well, Brutus, over the years, came to represent someone who maybe betrayed their friend in the name of a higher interest. And Brutus was interested not in keeping his friendship with Caesar, but in saving the Roman Republic. And so when this person, who is an unknown author, calls himself Brutus, that tells us something about what he thinks his mission is. He is maybe betraying a close friend. He is betraying a power-hungry close friend in the name of saving the Republic. Here's how Brutus puts it. History furnishes no example of a free republic anything like the extent of the United States. And we don't know who the author of Brutus 1 technically was. There's a few theories, but I want to draw your attention to that word extent. When we say the weaknesses of a large republic, Brutus has a very specific meaning in mind for that word, large. He means large in extent. The idea was that republics were, a couple of towns or cities at the most. You should not have a republic that expands over an entire country, which in the United States case was already spreading out over the entire North American continent. This was happening very early on after the colonies were settled. And so Brutus says there has never been a free republic of that size. What does he have in mind? Well, his argument is a logical one. He starts with thinking about Greece. Greece? What was Greece? Well, Greece was an incredible civilization. Beautiful art, culture, language. It started as a small republic. It grew in size and power, and eventually Greece was taken over by tyrannical leaders. Then we go to Rome. Same story there. An amazing land. Culture, art, military advancement. It started as a small republic. It grew in size and power and was taken over by tyrannical leaders. These places, Greece and Rome, are considered to be the birthplaces of democracies and republics. And yet, when they started to grow in size and power, those systems collapsed. They were taken over by tyrannical leaders. Now, Brutus says, what about the United States? Well, the United States started as a small republic. And what do you know? The Constitution proposes creating a larger republic. It proposes a growth in size and power. And Brutus just poses the question, what happens when small republics grow in size and power? They are taken over by tyrannical leaders. But Brutus's argument is not just abstract. You see, he has specific qualms with the Constitution in mind. One of the most important comparisons is this. Think back to the Roman emperor. After Julius Caesar was assassinated, eventually Rome still transferred to this tyrannical power structure. And then the Roman emperor was a particular person. He had a very specific job. He was supposed to honor the republic, keep up appearances of a fair democratic society. But really, a Roman emperor could do whatever the situation demanded. And Brutus says, hey, would you look at the language of this new constitution? Sure, it doesn't have an emperor, but it has a Congress. And look at what this Congress has the power to do. Congress can do whatever is necessary and proper. And he points to this necessary and proper clause as a severe weakness, right? That this Constitution is creating a Congress that is on par with the Roman emperor. It is something that can do whatever needs to be done. So who cares how democratic it might appear? Maybe it really appears to honor the people's voice, but if the government is essentially unlimited, how can it be a true republic? No, the only way to maintain the republic is not to have an entire country under the whims of one Congress. It's to have a confederacy where each state, just like under the Articles of Confederation, is able to maintain their sovereignty. That's what Brutus wants, staying under the status quo. Yes, the Articles of Confederation isn't perfect, but the system of state sovereignty is better than a system where Congress can do, by definition in the Constitution, whatever is necessary and proper. You see, this is a principle that many people would have believed. Many, many, many of the early Americans believed that as the territory of a country grows, the leaders get farther away from the people. I mean, just think about it literally for a moment, right? As a country spreads out, you can see this process unfolding as we add more and more and more states. You know, it's not as though our system of government, our Congress, can be close to all of these states, right? It has to be in this one place, and we choose, obviously, Washington, D.C. And these leaders, as a country grows in territory, it also grows in population. And you can't possibly hope to represent all of the people of such a large country, even with a representative Congress. And this is what Brutus ultimately advocates for. Not state sovereignty for the sake of state sovereignty, but local control. That by dividing up, by slicing up that pizza, you actually create a system where people's leaders are more responsive to the people they're supposed to lead. And that system, Brutus says, is far superior to the Constitution's sprawling mess of a government that can do whatever it deems necessary. As I mentioned, Brutus has lasted because it's one of the strongest, most potent critiques of the Constitution. And eventually it would be addressed directly by the Federalists in Federalist number 10. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Have a good one.